Hello and welcome to the Perfect Wrist. So how would I recommend saving a figure of £7,000, that's about $8,500 in the space of 12 months for a person on average income, which in the UK is about £25,000 to £30,000 a year, around £1,500 to £2,000 a month net, that sort of figure. It is possible, it will take discipline, and I'm going to outline a plan to achieve that in this video. This video is intended for people in the UK on an average income, which is between £25,000 and £30,000 a year, so between £1,500 and £2,000 a month net. Don't worry if you're a student or you're not. You know, if you're young, a savings plan is still possible. You could look at 10% of this figure. For £700, there's all sorts of excellent watches available for you at your age, in your early 20s perhaps. Your Grail watch may well be a Seiko Alpinist or a Hamilton Khaki Field. Brilliant watches. But the same techniques can be employed by you, even if you are on a very, very low income, to achieve this goal. So why the figure £7,000? Well, for that figure, as it happens, my target watch is exactly that figure, the summer blue edition of the Omega Heritage 300. But there's also a lot of other watches available around that level, retail. Most of the Omegas. There are also pre-owned Rolex Explorers now have dropped below £6,000, and all sorts of options on the path up to this level, this figure. You may fall in love with something well before you get to this amount. There are a few caveats. The main caveat is that you are actually in control of your own finances. There isn't a significant other, a better or worse other, that is controlling your purse strings. Another caveat is that in the boom times of the last few years, you didn't super extend yourself with your mortgage or high car finance payments. What I'm talking about here is the average person, sensible, on an average wage, who has reasonable outgoings and is in control of their own finances. It is possible. Oh, by the way, can you just, if you like these videos, can you just subscribe and like and share the videos? It takes a few seconds, costs nothing, but it does help the channel. Thanks. Like any goal, you have to want it enough. And if you want it enough, it can happen. So first of all, it has to be an absolute target. It has to be a 12-month target, which can be broken down further into 12 monthly periods. Now there are lots of ways of achieving a goal. Some great advice I had years ago was, if you want to achieve something within a set period of time, write it down. It must be realistic, hard to achieve but achievable. Write it down and put that piece of paper away. Come back in a year's time and you'll be amazed how close you are to having achieved that target. Now the reason for that is all to do with the subconscious. It's well known that we only operate on about 10% of the brain's capacity. The rest is the subconscious that operates in the background without us realizing it. And that subconscious knows you, and it knows what you are looking for, your goals and desires, and as you go through life, it'll work away and guide you in the right direction. So first thing, write it down and put that piece of paper away. It has to be a priority, an absolute priority. And people around you need to be made aware of that if and when the need arises. So for example, if there's a holiday that might cost £3,000 or £4,000, you know, perhaps you could mention to, if it was with your significant other, you could maybe say, look, darling, this particular watch, it means a lot to me. I've got a big birthday coming up. I want to save for that this year. Perhaps next year we can go to Florida, to Disney. The prices will be cheaper because there's a recession coming. Something like that. Now, first of all, I would establish a watch fund, a bank account if you can, a savings account specifically for your watch or watches. That money is not to be used, not to be touched for anything other than your dream watch. And as you go through the 12-month period, you'll add to it. Hopefully you won't take anything out of it, but little extras that you might come across or little happy bonuses, they all go into the watch fund, and you'd be surprised how that quickly builds up. The next bit of advice is that with this savings target, you have to adopt the attitude of a campaign manager. You have to attack it a bit like a general attacking on a battlefield. There'll be obstacles in the way as you sail this ship towards its final destination. Winds will blow you off course, but you must constantly come back on course and stay that course. Can be done if the goal is crystal clear. So we are going to attack this project in a number of different ways, from a number of different directions. The main thrust of this plan will come from regular saving. You need to get into a regular saving habit if you aren't already. For me, that's £250 a month. It just goes into the watch fund and slowly builds up in the background. But £250 a month is £3,000 a year. That's going to go quite a considerable way towards the £7,000 target. So you might say, well, that's fine for you. I don't have £250 a month. I don't have any money at all every month to put aside. This is where budgeting comes in and being in control of your own finances. Now, for me personally, there's just me, the cat, and my daughter who occasionally turns up. And believe it or not, I can, my grocery bill for the week is between £25 and £30. That involves fruit, vegetables, cereals, milk, a batch cook. So if I make, you've got to become creative to achieve these goals. If I make mince and pasta with roasted peppers, something like that, I'll make enough of that to last 3 days. I might pop to my girlfriend's house. I may have a meal with her. She might prepare that. So over the course of a week, you can quite easily live within that budget. That's one area, food. Another area that you can save, mobile phones. I have a 4-year-old phone. It's paid for. I have a pay-as-you-go SIM. My mobile bill is £16 a month. Does everything I need. You may want the latest iPhone at £60 or £70 a month. You have to resist that. Car finance. I have an older car. It's paid for. If I was to buy a car on finance, I would still only look at this, the medium to lower end, £200 or £300 a month. I wouldn't be looking at £500-600 a month, £700 for a Range Rover, nothing like that. Live within your means. Another big area is nights out. Again, coming back to the principle that you have to be in control of your own finances. You have to resist temptation. I do get invited out occasionally, personally. I'm very selective about those nights or days when I might go out. I don't drink a lot. Going out around an average city in the UK now is at least £100 a person to have a good day out. You don't have to do that very often. You can do that once or twice a quarter, and you've caught up with everybody. It doesn't have to be a weekly thing. If you stop going out every week, if that's something that you do, you could soon save £200-300 a month. So they are the main huge areas that I see savings being possible. The car, nights out, groceries, the phone. What about household costs, things like the mortgage, the bills? Well, you can turn the electricity off and the gas off when you're not using it. Wrap yourself in a few blankets. If it's a bit cold, put the heating on for half an hour instead of 3 hours. What if you had a credit card bill of, you know, £5,000 or £6,000 and that was costing you, I don't know, £150 a month? But you had £5,000 or £6,000 in savings, pay off the credit card, and then you've got that £150 a month spare. Just have a critical look at all your outgoings and look at areas that you can trim. I would say that most people on an average income could save £200 to £300 a month if they're careful. And don't forget, this is for maybe just a 1 year period to achieve a specific goal. Can you divert spending that you had earmarked for something else into the watch pool? The most expensive of those is very likely to be holidays. Oh, I hear some of you say, we have to have our holiday every year. We've gone to Tenerife for 2 weeks every year for the last 20 years. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's say it's your 50th birthday. I think I would like this watch this year for my 50th, darling, if you don't mind. Can we just have a year off? Perhaps next year we'll go away for 3 weeks. What can you sell? Can you put things on eBay? Can you raise £100 here, £50 there? Can you eke the £250 a month up to saving maybe £400 a month by selling the odd thing? But do have a look at what you might have lying about that you're not using, things you could sell to raise some initial capital, other watches that you might have, you might get a few £100s for that you're no longer using. You can try to sell them. You may even be able to trade them in the future. Some capital can come from that. Have a little bit of a brainstorm. Have a look at things like old sofas that you're not using. I sold a bed. I got £100 for that. Little bits of money that can come in. A nice fancy jacket. Get that on Vinted. Look for things you can sell. Old technology. You'll be surprised how much you can raise from those. So we're getting there. We are getting there. And finally, don't forget, we're attacking this goal from different directions. Look at the watches you already have. Which ones you don't wear, which ones you can move on. You probably won't get what you paid for them, but you'll get something. And if you have particularly nice pieces that are worth maybe, you know, £700 to £2,000, something like that, just trade those in against your dream watch. Now, another area that is a bit more vague, but does happen to us all year in, year out, is what I would refer to as happy little bonuses. So I play poker, and over the last 2 years I've played the odd poker tournament, and in 2022 I had a good win, £690. 2023 I had a nice win, was over £1,000. Now that money could easily just disappear, as we all have our regular expenses, bills, obligations. But instead, if that happens this year, that's going straight in the watch fund. There may be other things that you yourself do, or little hustles you have on the side to raise money. Again, don't just let that money, those extra funds, disappear in the ether of everyday life. Put them aside into the watch fund, add to that regular monthly saving that you have. What I would say is the keys to this are to mount a campaign, to attack it like a general would attack a battlefield from every direction. Savings, sales of existing things that you might have, happy bonuses and consequences that come to everybody through the year, hopefully, and existing watches that you may be able to trade in. All of that together should be able to build up a decent fund. And if you don't get to the £7,000 target, you might get halfway there. And there's some very nice watches halfway there.